in this country. I mentioned smart motorways. It's a subject we have talked about many times. Smart motorway crashes, we learned today, could be investigated by a whole new road safety unit. Polling shows still that the majority of drivers actually want them scrapped. The government's new road safety investigation branch, bringing the roads in line with aviation and the rail sector, will look into the wider themes that cause collisions and specific incidents of concerns. The news was welcomed by the RAC, which will be involved in the scheme. However, the Department for Transport signalled that roads will not be the focus of the new branch, and incidents involving the technology may not form part of its work. And I think many people will look on askance at that, thinking, well, hang on, isn't that crucial to the problems? Let's speak with Claire Mercer, founder of the Smart Motorways Kill campaign. Claire, we've spoken before on this. Good afternoon to you. It was that last comment that I made there, that this won't necessarily include the technology, which the last time I looked is very much at the heart of the problems we're talking about.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the fact that the hard shoulder is missing is one of the big problems, but the other problem is the technology is just not up to the job, and it's a known fact, and it's admitted within the industry that the technology controlling the gantries, which are so important without a hard shoulder, does not work. It is not capable of working. It's running on cables that are 20, 30 years old, and it's just not up to the job.
Who's not listening to this, Claire? Because, you know, we've spoken about it. You've spoken across many areas of the media, and then Grant Shapps or whoever happens to be doing that job next or before invariably says, well, you know, we'll look at this. Obviously, we're sympathetic to that. And, you know, we believe on balance, they still kind of work. And you guys and people like yourself, your own husband, Jason, was killed on an all lanes running smart motorway on the M1. You speak from the worst kind of experience on this, but a view that should be listened to. And yet every time we get the same kind of answer, we'll try and, you know, we're aware of it, we'll see what we can do, but no one's scrapping them.
No. Well, they're all locums for a start, aren't they? Every few years they change, they rent a mob, they don't care. We're stuck here with them constantly. And, you know, the roads minister, Dame Baroness Fear, does she sound like she commutes much? You know, these people don't have to use these roads day in, day out. They've got their own little bubble and they're in that. And the rest of us are stuck using these roads, and people are terrified of them. I'm sat at home. My PTSD is worse now than it was when my husband was smashed to pieces, because I've had to fight for 3 years and it's exhausting. And I get email after email after email saying, I am so scared of these roads. What do I do? How do I avoid them? Everyone is calling for the sat-nav companies to have a feature to avoid smart motorways, because you can avoid motorways already, but none of them will engage with me. I've contacted them all, none of them. So many people are scared. I get asked for maps. I get asked which ones are smart motorways. I get asked what the options are. Yep. We get so many people saying that they don't want to use them, and they're going onto the A roads, and you know, it's doing the exact opposite. It's meant to be improving congestion, which I worked out was 2 minutes a day in this area. So my husband was killed for 2 minutes saving a day on people's commutes, and then they were trapped for 9 hours in the traffic jam caused by his death. So that's all their 2 minutes gone. But, you know, why are we increasing the roads in a climate crisis anyway? More people are working from home. Just nobody is listening. They're just pushing and pushing and pushing. And you have to question why.
I've tried to get to the, you know, I've said to you before that, you know, if everything was smart, including the technology tip-top, every single driver tip-top, every car tip-top, then you could say, well, maybe this thing might work. But we are many, many years away from that. And even just factoring human error is clearly one of the big factors as well. And I'm looking at this, you know, the government's new road safety investigation branch, Claire, and, you know, whilst it's been welcomed by the RAC, it's not going to solve the very problems that you've been talking about.
No, exactly. It's just everyone's in it for themselves. It's all quangos and arrangements. I don't welcome it at all. It's a load of rubbish. I have been campaigning for 3 years now, and in them 3 years there has been about 25 reviews, stock takes, investigations, checks in just 3 years. It's just paying people to sit and talk about it, and they pull in that group, because then they're not going to criticise it, are they? And they pull in that group, and then they're not going to criticise it. And the emergency services can't even speak out, because who is their ultimate boss? The emergency services know the problems with these, but the higher-ups can't speak out because who's their boss? Nobody will speak out because who are they in funding arrangements with? Nobody can speak out. It's the little people on the ground that have to bury their loved ones that have to speak out.
What do you say, Claire, when, and I can't say I've heard specifically Grant Shapps say this, but I've heard others make the point that on balance, smart motorways are still safe. It's very rare for somebody to have a fatal accident, and in fact the facilities, the little refuge areas are available for cars to pull over into. Well, what do you say to people that make that argument that, you know, despite the scary headlines, overall, they fare rather well, and dual carriageways, after all, don't have hard shoulders, and they also have a 70-mile-an-hour limit? What's the answer to that?
My first answer would be one that wouldn't engage you to interview me again. So I'll stick to the facts. And
I hear you.
I mean, I get the dual carriageway and A road argument a lot, but dual carriageways and A roads are far different to a motorway, to any motorway, and the government must think that, because they're not completely covered in gantries. They're not completely monitored by traffic staff. They don't have control rooms. They don't have the barriers down the side of the roads, so you'd be able to get your vehicle off most of them. So A roads and dual carriageways are very different. Yeah. And have you noticed how the sound bites have changed on smart motorways? They are the safest roads in our country. We have the safest roads in the world. They don't say that anymore because they've been pulled on it. We just our group, we got the solicitors to write to them and ask for verification and data on that. And then suddenly they don't say that anymore. It suddenly became among the safest. And now we believe they're safer. You know, it changes very
nuanced, but very, very
it's a
crucial difference.
Change, but it makes a massive change.
Of course it does.
And this is just paying more people to sit and talk about how dangerous these roads are while people die on them.
Got it. I hope we don't have to talk again, Claire, but I sense we probably will. But thank you.